वो जो पीछे आप पेड़ देख रहे हैं ना, so there is a family of monkeys out there. They've been continuously looking at me कि मैं कर क्या रहा हूँ. अब मुझे डर ये है कि वो आके फट से मेरा जो फ़ोन है ना वो पकड़ के ना ले जाए. खैर बीच बीच में मैं पीछे देखता रहूँगा, मुड़ता रहूँगा and be a little careful so that they don't just snatch the phone. So आज है 24th of February 2022 and I am still in Dehradun and आज मौसम अच्छा है. It's not been raining and like it did in the previous day when I filmed my previous memories. Link ऊपर है. So आज थोड़ा सा sunny weather भी है और बीच बीच में आपके clouds भी आ रहे हैं and so I thought okay, let me come and bask in the sun for some time. I was not feeling very well for the last couple of days and while doing that I suddenly as usual मैं एक पुराने एक पीरियड में मैं धीरे से फ्लोट होते हुए चला गया एंड एक बहुत ही इम्पोर्टेंट डे था एंड एन इम्पोर्टेंट पीरियड ऑफ माई लाइफ जिसमें मैं स्लोली क्या बोलते हैं उसको ना बहते हुए उसमें चला गया एंड आई जस्ट थॉट जब वो सोच जो वो फील अभी मेरे दिमाग में चल रही है देन व्हाई नॉट रिकॉर्ड इट फॉर यू एंड ऑल्सो फॉर मी एंड माई फैमिली टू सी एंड रिमेंबर when we become older. I clearly remember the flight was landing and मैं अपने जो window I had requested a gentleman कि if I can जो window seat से मैं देख सकता हूँ कि नहीं. He refused but then I then of course had to lean because ये opportunities बार बार आने वाले नहीं थे तो मैं उस बंदे के लैब के ऊपर से ऐसा लीन करके बाहर का जो विंडो से देख रहा था. ही वॉज वेरी अनकम्फर्टेबल बट आई सेड फक इट मैन. तो एंड आई कुड सी द सिटी ऑफ लंदन वेयर आई वाज गोइंग टू बी देयर फॉर अबाउट 2 or 3 years. फॉर द फर्स्ट टाइम ऊपर से मैं देख रहा था. द फ्लाइट लैंडेड हीथ्रो में and by that time of course this gentleman had become so uncomfortable कि वो खुद उठ के चले गए and the entire seat the window seat was for me. तो फिर मैं वहाँ पे आराम से बैठ के बाहर की तरफ देख रहा था and I could see such huge planes all around me. जो planes मैंने कभी देखा नहीं था. मुझे पता नहीं था कि इतनी बड़ी बड़ी planes भी होती है. Of course I mean I not come from a very small town. I come from Mumbai. I have also been visited the airport in Delhi number of times but the expanse of the Heathrow airport was so huge and इतने सारे international flights all of them were jumbo jets and एक नहीं दो नहीं तीन नहीं मतलब कितने सारे jumbo jets एक के बाद different क्या बोलते हैं उसको terminals बोल लीजिए या aisles बोल लीजिए उसमें लगे हुए थे. I'd never seen that kind of a sight before. It was a sight that I was kind of wow, it's such a bloody busy airport. And as the plane was taxiing across the runway and I could see different kind of vehicles जो airports में घूमते रहते हैं. It was drizzling. I think it was सुबह का time था because I think that's I don't fairly remember but जहाँ तक मुझे याद है वो सुबह का time था around probably about I don't know about 10ish I think 9-10ish I again don't remember. It was drizzling. The sky was overcast. वो उस टाइम पे मुझे मालूम नहीं था कि ये actual London weather है. मुझे लग रहा था शायद उस दिन बारिश हुई है इसलिए इस तरीके का वेदर है. The plane stopped. मैं उतर के of course it was a very different experience feeling. मैं आपको शायद बता नहीं पाऊँगा कि as I was walking down from the aeroplane and I was actually वो जो ट्यूब होता है जिससे आप walk down straight and connected to the main terminal and I straight landed into the terminal and I was looking around and it was such a brilliant feeling. Mumbai का जो airport उस time पे था was a very basic airport, not like today's. Today is a grand airport of course. But then from there and having reached in Heathrow, one of the busiest airports and one of the classiest airports in the world, I mean that was a very different experience and I for a moment मैं वहीं पे खड़े होके मैं देखता रहा चारों तरफ देखता रहा and here I am finally I am here in London and I'm in Heathrow लॉट ऑफ काइंड ऑफ बड़े सारे सोच मेरे दिमाग में क्रॉस हो रहे थे कि एक तो ये था कि आई एम सो फार अवे फ्रॉम माई होम, दूसरी चीज़ ये था कि ओके दिस इज़ अ प्लेस वेयर not only do I know anybody, but none of them look like me, and I look very different. Of course, there were Asians and all those were there, but then at least man hi man to ye feeling aa raha tha. And thirdly, I did not know a lot of things out there, lot of technologies, systems, and lot of things that would help me probably to go about, at least in the basic run. वो मुझे मालूम नहीं था. So well, as I looked around and I went to collect my baggage, जो उसमें circles में आ रहे थे, I collected my baggage and I knew the first thing I had to do was convey to my parents that I'd reached safely. Did not have a cell phone at that point of time. And of course I had the British currency with me, जो मैं इंडिया से लेके गया था. But I didn't. I kind of what I did was I remember I had an uncle who was staying in Cardiff, which is of course far away from London, and I gave him a call from one of those British telephone booths, British Telecom के जो लगे होते थे ना. So I put that coin, I spoke to him and I requested him if you could kindly inform my parents that I've landed safe and now I will give them a call once I'm into my hostel. So the next thing I did was I called my hostel, the accommodation, and I said कि I've landed in the airport and I'm in this place. So उन्होंने बोला कि ठीक है आप वहाँ पे wait करिए, and they instructed me to be in a particular place, in a particular gate, and somebody will come to pick me up in about 45 minutes time. So I picked my luggage and checked out of the terminal, and I was standing there and I was kind of looking around. And जैसे जैसे मैं देख रहा था, things were sinking in. The smell was different. The what I was seeing, the sight was absolutely different. What I was hearing was very different. What I was feeling, the weather, the temperature, everything was very different. So I was here in a very, very different setup, and I was liking it. So I was soaking in that entire setup. बहुत ही खाली सा मुझे लग रहा था. It was very dark. I can call it gloomy, but not in a negative sense. But of course, it was a very gloomy kind of a weather. In the sense, it was dark, wet, and February was definitely cold. And I heard a faint, sound or a voice calling out, "Mr. Neelav Majumdar, Neelav Majumdar." And I said, "Oh, I saw my placard out there. I'm famous." So there was this guy, and when there's a monkey up here. He's also listening to my story. Okay. So there was this guy, and I walked up to him. He had my name on the placard, and he apparently seemed like an Asian. And on further discussion, he was a Gujarati, settled out there, a student himself, जो आज से 6 साल पहले आया था और कभी वापस गया नहीं. So गाड़ी में सामान रखे, पीछे डिक्की क्लोज के. It's quite a big swanky sedan. At least उस टाइम पे I found it very swanky. Big car, dark colored, of course. Most of the vehicles out there are darkish in color, grey shades and blue shades. बैठा मैं and पीछे की सीट में बैठा मैं, आगे वो and ड्राइवर बैठे हुए थे, and पीछे अकेला मैं बैठा हुआ था. And I was just looking out of the car window. गाड़ी के विंडो में रेन ड्रॉपलेट्स पड़े हुए थे, and we kind of exited the Heathrow airport. And as I was going away from the Heathrow airport, बड़े सारे feelings मेरे अंदर आ रहे थे. I was so excited, at the same time a little anxious. I was a little nervous as well. Of course, I was looking forward to my whole experience of staying in London. And one thing I definitely noticed was the weather was going to be very dark, throughout. तब तक मेरे को 2-2.5 घंटे हो गए थे, and there was no sign of it clearing. And also this guy told me, he was some Patel, I've forgotten his name. He was some Patel, and he said ki Neelav, this is how the weather is going to be for a very long time. When I say long time, it doesn't mean hours, it doesn't mean days or weeks, months. It's going to be like that. I said, wow, this is my kind of a weather. Brilliant. और फिर ऐसे करते करते we were heading towards a place called Wembley. That was my first stay in London. And that was where मैं पहली बार, I was going to stay in a hostel. and that too in. Oh, that's a monkey who's calling me. Oh, there you are. Hello, boy. Seriously, मुझे ऐसा लग रहा था monkeys are also listening to what I have to say. Never mind, I've got an audience. Okay, so फिर मैं Wembley पहुंचा. I mean, I was on my way to Wembley and I could see things going by. And एक चीज़ मेरे दिमाग में very clear था कि I wasn't sure मैं यहाँ पे कितने साल हूँ. क्या मैं हमेशा रहने वाला हूँ या मैं 2-2.5 साल के बाद पढ़ाई कंप्लीट करने के बाद I'm going to leave. I did not know. Did I come here to earn a lot of money and go back? Like I was like, no, that's not what my intent was. Like most of the guys who go from India, ना वो वहाँ पे जाके पैसा कमाने के लिए आते हैं and एक ही रूम में 10-10 लोग ठुसे होते हैं, पैसा कमाओ रात दिन and वापस आओ. That was again not my intent or the plan. क्या मैं वहाँ पे सिर्फ पढ़ने के लिए जा रहा था, जस्ट पढ़ो एंड देन गेट द डिग्री एंड कम बैक? Nah, that was also not it. I knew that I was going there to live my life in London and experience London the way it should be. जैसे कि वहाँ के लोग रहते हैं, not as how probably somebody from India goes and as a tourist. मैं वहाँ पे रहने जा रहा था 2-2.5 साल. अब मुझे वहाँ के जैसे जो वहाँ के इंडियंस जो वहाँ पे रहते हैं वैसे नहीं, वहाँ के जो ब्रिटिश या इंग्लिश या जो सिटीजन्स हैं वहाँ पे जैसे रहते हैं, मुझे वैसा रहना था. एंड आई वांटेड टू एक्सपीरियंस लंदन फ्रॉम दैट पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू. बट उसमें एक प्रॉब्लम था. द प्रॉब्लम वाज टू बी एबल टू डू दैट. आपके पास एक चीज़ होना बहुत ज़रूरी है, वो पैसा. एंड इफ़ यू आर स्टडिंग एंड आप यहाँ से पढ़ने के लिए वहाँ पे जा रहे हैं, then obviously you'll have limited resources. And London being one of the expensive cities in the world, obviously things were expensive. And जिस तरीके का lifestyle मैं lead करने का सोच रहा था, with the kind of resources I had, I knew it would be difficult, or at least I did not want to spend those money in probably going to strip clubs or pubs and bars and discotheques and all that. So मैंने सोचा कि ठीक है, मुझे तो कुछ अपना पैसा कमाना पड़ेगा. बिकॉज ये जो पैसे मेरे पेरेंट्स ने दिया है, जिस पर्पस के लिए मुझे दिया गया है, पढ़ने के लिए एंड सस्टेनेबिलिटी के लिए, वहाँ पे सस्टेनेंस के लिए, मुझे उसी चीज़ में यूटिलाइज करना चाहिए. बट बाकी जिस तरीके का लाइफ में लीड करना चाह रहा हूँ, उस लाइफ को लीड करने के लिए मुझे अपना पैसा खुद कमाना चाहिए. इट डजंट मैटर हाउ. वो मैं ऑल दिस थिंग्स वर देयर इन माई माइंड व्हाइल आई वाज ड्राइविंग डाउन. एंड देन आई रीच्ड द होम. And of course, I mean, I met a lot of people. इसका कहानी मैं आपको किसी और दिन सुनाऊंगा. What was my first day's experience? But from here, I'm going to deviate to the intent of my discussion today, or my memories को लाने का. That yes, I knew I had to find a job. अब मैं कैसे निकालूं, कहाँ से निकालूं? तो वहाँ पे 3-4 तरीके होते हैं जॉब निकालने के लिए. My friend is getting very excited out there. He knows what I'm talking about. So there are 3-4 ways of figuring out a job out there, which I got to know once I slowly in the first week settled in. One was वहाँ पे एक, उस टाइम पे, अभी का मुझे पता नहीं, वहाँ पे एक what do you call placement stations होते हैं, physical stations, booths. I'm forgetting the name. I don't know if it still exists. वहाँ पे आप जा सकते हैं. वहाँ पे कियोस्क होता है या काउंसलर्स होता है. दोनों में से किसी एक के साथ आपको जैसा कन्वीनियंट हो, आप अपने रिक्वायर्ड जॉब्स आप कोशिश कर सकते हैं. So most of the jobs are menial jobs or part-time jobs or hourly paid jobs. So वहाँ पे मेरा लक नहीं बना. Then I figured out another way. Another way was, there are high streets which are there and there are a lot of stores which are there. वो लोग क्या करते हैं, विंडोज पे ना वो लगा देते हैं स्टिकीज कि we require a helper, we require a storekeeper and so on. तो मैंने बहुत सारे ऐसे जगह पे Wembley High Street में मैंने घुमा, because Wembley High Street is very close to where I stayed. I stayed in Wembley. HAO was the code, or I'm forgetting the बाकी का code. But that's where I stayed. Beautiful locality, very Asian Gujarati, mostly primarily Gujarati, and a bit of Sri Lankan. तो बहुत अच्छा जगह था, and that's where my first stay was. तो वहाँ से 2-3 नज़दीकी जगह थी. One was the, like I said, the Wembley High Street. Then you had the Ealing Road. So these were the market areas. Ealing Road में बड़े सारे stores were there, all mostly run by the Asians, the Gujaratis primarily, and few Sri Lankans as well. Again was the Wembley High Street, जिसमें बड़े सारे brands थे, bigger brands were there. The Primark was there, A lot of banks like NatWest, etc., were there. Barclays was also there, and various other larger retail stores were there. तो वहाँ पे तो मुझसे कुछ हुआ नहीं. मुझे लगा कि शायद कोई रेस्टोरेंट में मुझे ले लेगा एज अ वेटर. Did not happen. Ealing Road पे, which was primarily Gujarati, that also did not happen. And ऐसे करते करते 2-3 हफ्ते चले गए, and I was getting worried. I was thinking कि बॉस मैं अब करूँ तो क्या करूँ. Then a friend of mine, where I was staying, जो मैंने befriend किया था, he said कि पीछे ना एक आंटी का store है. It's an off-license store. So this is like a grocery store, which is there. Grocery stores को वहाँ पे, या local जो आपके daily needs के stores होते हैं, convenience stores होते हैं, छोटे वाले, उनको off-license stores बोलते हैं. क्यों? I don't know. So he said, why don't you go and try and speak to that lady? She's a nice, old, kind Gujarati lady. She might try to help you. I said, ठीक है, all right. I went down one evening after coming back from college. It was raining again. Opened the door. There was this petite little lady, Gujarati lady, who was sitting in the till. Not in the till. I was sitting across, facing the till. And she thought I was, yes, well, how can I help you? I said, no, I don't want to buy anything. Basically, I asked, if you have any kind of an opening for me, job opening. Then she asked my details. I said I'm from Mumbai. जैसे ही मैंने बोला Mumbai, she kind of smiled and थोड़ी सी discussions हुई. Apparently her roots were from Mumbai long time back, जहाँ से वो Kenya चली गई थी after she got getting married. And from there, that's where she was settled in Kenya with her husband. And then कुछ तो हुआ था Kenya में, some kind of a rebellion, whatever had happened. I don't know the history, but then they had to kind of flee and leave Kenya, and they were given asylum here in London. All this happened very long time back. I mean, this is about 20, 30, 40 years back. So she had that connect, she goes to Mumbai once in 4-5 years. And ऐसे बातें करते करते she said, okay, fine, I have a job for you. Job की मैंने बोला क्या है? She said, okay, ये पूरा स्टोर का जो डिस्प्ले है, प्रोडक्ट डिस्प्ले, वो आपको करना पड़ेगा. विच मीन्स जितने सारे आपके शेल्फ्स है, इसमें प्रोडक्ट को रिप्लेनिश आपको करना पड़ेगा. आपको स्टोर से सारे प्रोडक्ट्स लाना पड़ेगा. जो डेट्स आपके एक्सपायर हो गए उसको आपको फेंकना पड़ेगा. जो नए डेट्स की चीज़ें उसको पीछे रखना पड़ेगा, और जो एक्सपायरी होने वाला उनको आगे रखना पड़ेगा. एंड दिस इज क्वाइट नंबर ऑफ शेल्फ्स विच आर देयर. ऐसा ठीक है, बट हाफ ऑफ द प्रोडक्ट्स का नाम मुझे तो मालूम ही नहीं था. बट देन आई सेड ठीक है, आई डू इट. आई टोल्ड हर आई डोंट नो द नेम्स ऑफ अ लॉट ऑफ प्रोडक्ट्स. फॉर एग्जांपल, इतने सारे बियर्स थे मुझे मालूम ही नहीं है. There were things like Carlsberg, there was things like Stella Artois, there was Heineken, there was Guinness, and there were so many others. I mean, I had bloody no clue. Then she said, don't worry, धीरे धीरे आपको सब समझ में आ जाएगा. सर ठीक. And she said, I'm going to give you 3.75p per hour. Is that okay with you? I said, okay. Now here's the deal. वहाँ पे minimum wages was £4.15p at that point of time. Minimum legal wages per hour. But in order to do that, you need to have a legal job, which means the money needs to be transferred to your account. Enable to do that, you need to have a bank account, and आपका एक NI number होना चाहिए जो taxation number है basically. But क्योंकि I just reached there, it's just about 2 weeks or 3. So all these things were going to take some time. My opening of the bank account was going to take some time. I would need a letter from the college, which facilitate the banking opening process. And post that, of course, I'll have to apply for an NI number. But then there was another loop. NI number के लिए मुझे I needed to have a proper job, not like a store job, a proper job. So all this would take time. So I said, ठीक है, £3.75 was not a bad deal, and I was game for it. That was my first job in London. I have forgotten the name of the lady. Probably I never asked her, but she was Mrs. Patel, like I called her. She had two lovely daughters. Again, one was much older to me and the other was of my age. But I loved that job. It was in the corner of, like, यहाँ से एक रोड आती थी और यहाँ से और एक रोड जाती थी और वहाँ पे और एक रोड जाती थी. इस जंक्शन के एक कॉर्नर पे this store was there. उसकी just opposite was a pub, a very English, very Scottish, whatever you call it. आप समझ रहे क्या मैं बात कर रहा हूँ. उस तरीके का एक pub था where this bar benches were there. And summers में all these guys, most of them are white guys, would sit down and make quite a hell of a noise and scenario out there. एक बार तो मेरे से भी भिड़ गया था. खैर, that job was my first ever in London, and Oh, I love that job so much. I mean, my college was very far away. It was about, I would take a, not take a tube because tube was expensive. I would take a bus number 18, and it would live from Wembley High Road to all the way to a place called Euston. And Euston se I would take another bus which would take me all the way to my college, you know, which was in central London, the Tower Bridge, London Bridge. So, and the same process would, I would come back, you know, take about an hour and a half to reach back home. So I'd reach home around 4:30, quickly change fresh and go to the store and do my job. I इतने सारे लोगों से मेरी वहाँ पे दोस्ती हो गई थी. There was one gentleman who would always, every day he would come. एंड जो 6 कैंस होते थे बड़े बड़े स्टेला ऑटो का, उसको स्टेला ऑटोआ ही चाहिए था. नो हाइनेकेन, नो कार्लसबर्ग, नो गिनीज, नथिंग एट ऑल. ही वाज क्रेजी अबाउट स्टेला ऑटो एंड एवरी डे ही विल बाय 6 कैंस. 6 कैंस वुड कॉस्ट अबाउट, आई थिंक उस टाइम पे जहां तक मुझे याद है, स्टेला ऑटो वाज £5. मेरे लिए काफी था. £5 was a lot of money, but I'm sure for him it wasn't. So every day he would buy, and he would especially tell me कि I'm going to come tomorrow also. मेरे लिए please 6 cans रख देना, and I would keep that. So जॉब वॉज ऑफकोर्स मैनुअल. मुझे पीछे रात हो जाती थी, क्लोज मैं ही करता था. तो सारे जो आपके कार्टन्स होते थे स्टॉक के, जो खत्म हो जाते उन सबको क्रश करके, बड़े कार्टन्स होते थे, एंड आई वुड काइंड ऑफ डंप इट इन द क्रशिंग मशीन पीछे. एंड पूरा स्टॉक को मैं शेल्फ में डालता था. वो करते करते आई वुड गेट टायर्ड. एंड वेरी वंस इन ए वाइल ऑफ्टन द लेडी मिसेस पटेल वो मुझे कभी कुछ इंडियन खाना या समथिंग और द अदर, यू नो, दे वुड हैव कुक्ड. सो इवेंचुअली क्या हो गया था कि फ्रॉम एन एम्प्लॉय, लिटिल स्टोर हेल्पर गाय, यू नो, सस्ता से स्लोली दे बिकम लाइक एन इंडियन फैमिली एक्सटेंशन जैसा हो गया था. सो खाना बनाते थे, जैसे मैं अभी कह ही रहा था, तो मेरे लिए हमेशा लाते थे मिसेस पटेल. एंड कुछ भी घर में गुजराती खाना बनता था तो शी वुड ऑफ कोर्स इंश्योर कि आज रात को क्या बना रहे हो. शी वुड आस्क. आई सेड आई डोंट नो, आई विल सी हॉस्टल में क्या. आई सेड नो, डोंट वरी, ये लेके जाओ. सो कुछ ना कुछ ऐसा होता था. सो दैट आई वर्क फॉर 3 months. एंड ऐसे करते करते बहुत अच्छा दोस्ती, अच्छा रिलेशन बन गया था. 3 months आई वर्कड एंड देन आई डिसाइडेड कि अब मुझे यहाँ से मूव करना है, बिकॉज मैं यूके आया नहीं था to be again surrounded by my set of people, the Indians, regardless of the region. I wanted to be in London where, you know, where the international community was there. और वो मुझे कहीं और, from Wembley I had to move to another location, which is what my plan was. मैं ढूंढ भी लिया था, and I had already jobs ढूंढना चालू कर चुका था मैंने, और मुझे एक मिल भी गया था. That was my second most closest job to my heart, इस जॉब के बाद, जिसके बारे में मैं आपको नेक्स्ट टाइम बताऊंगा. इट वॉज अ ब्रिलियंट जॉब. आई मीन दैट वॉज द बेस्ट जॉब इन माई लाइफ टिल डेट. आई एम ए प्रोफेसर टुडे, बट टिल डेट दैट वॉज द बेस्ट जॉब आई हैड एवर डन. बहुत छोटा जॉब है, बट बहुत ही प्यारा जॉब था, जिसके बारे में मैं बिल्कुल अगली बार बताऊंगा. बट येस, सो 3 months के बाद आई एक्चुअली केम टू मिसेस पटेल वन डे एंड आई सेड, मैम, आई विल हैव टू लीव. शी सेड, व्हाई? आई सेड, नो, आई हैव टू मूव अहेड, बिकॉज अभी मेरा कॉलेज यहाँ से बहुत दूर पड़ रहा है एंड 1.5 घंटा लगता है मुझे. सो आई एम मूविंग टू अ प्लेस विच इज अबाउट 15-20 minutes फ्रॉम माई कॉलेज, एंड इट इज ऑन द अदर साइड ऑफ लंडन. दिस वॉज वेस्ट लंडन. आई एम गोइंग टू साउथ ईस्ट लंडन, much different, in a very different direction. So from there I cannot come here to work. So I figured out another job for myself, and she was very sad. And unfortunately लंदन ऐसा शहर है कि आप एक बार एक जगह से हट गए और चले गए, आपके पास वो मौका ही नहीं मिलेगा कि वहां पे जाके वापस दोबारा उन जगहों को, उन लोगों को मिलते. एंड मेरे साथ भी ऐसा ही हुआ. March, April, I left Wembley and I left this job. आज तक I have not been able to meet them or speak or connect with them. हालांकि मैं लंदन में था अगला 2-2.5 साल, but I was of course engrossed in a different life, different world altogether. मेरे दिमाग में होते थे about this people, about this job, you know, they were the first people who had offered me a little bit of a livelihood out there. मेरा हमेशा दिल में होता, but never got the chance, opportunity, time, energy, or I'll be very honest to confess, never had the intent to even go and meet them because I was too occupied with so many other things that I was out to experience. Anyways, I don't know if they are saying this video or they ever will. If they do, I'm sure they will remember 2002 February, sometime around this same date, 24th of February, I had come to their door knocking, in the shop's door of course, knocking that, okay, do you have something for me? If they do, I'm sure they will have a sweet smile on their face. आज के लिए इतना ही. होप यू एंजॉयड दिस वीडियो, दिस मेमोरी, दिस डायरी ऑफ माइन. ऐसे बहुत सारे मेमोरीज हैं मेरे और हम दोनों के, और अभी तो हम तीनों के. वी विल कीप ऑन शेयरिंग. डू नॉट फॉरगेट टू वॉच द अदर वीडियोज, द अदर सीरीजेज विच आर रनिंग पैरेलली. ये भी साथ साथ चलता रहेगा. हैव अ ग्रेट डे, इवनिंग, विच ओवर पार्ट ऑफ द वर्ल्ड यू आर. थैंक यू.